There is a certain kind of person who has been told their whole life that they think too much. They feel too much. They notice too much. They take things too personally. And for a long time, they believed it. They spent years trying to become less sensitive, less observant, less intense, because the world kept telling them that their natural way of being was a problem that needed solving. But here's what nobody told them. The exact trait that made them exhausting in a world built for people who don't think deeply is the single most valuable operating system a person can have in the new economy. The people quietly building the most compelling one-person businesses and the most loyal personal brands right now are almost always the ones who feel everything a little too much. This isn't motivational, this is strategic. And once you understand how to use what you already have, the game changes entirely. Most people move through life on autopilot. They have a conversation and hear the words. They walk into a room and see the furniture. Their nervous system filters aggressively, letting most of the world pass by unprocessed to protect cognitive bandwidth. You don't have that filter. Your nervous system captures everything. The slight hesitation before someone answers, the word choice that was almost right but not quite, the gap between what a piece of content promises and what it actually delivers, the feeling in a market, and yes, markets have feelings, that something real is missing. Most people call this overthinking. Strategists call it signal detection. And in business, signal detection is everything. Think about what building a successful brand actually requires. At its core, it means understanding people more accurately than your competition does. It means seeing the gap between what exists and what people actually need. It means articulating a frustration, a fear, a desire, so precisely that the person reading it stops and thinks, "This was written about me." That is not a marketing skill. That is a perception skill. And you have been practicing it involuntarily every single day of your life. The same mechanism that exhausted you at social gatherings because you could feel every undercurrent in the room, that mechanism pointed at a market becomes a competitive advantage so significant it almost feels unfair. While your competition is guessing what their audience wants, you are feeling it. You are not reverse engineering emotion from data. You are starting from the emotion because you never stopped sensing it. That is the reframe, and it is not small. Every market is a collection of people who share an unmet need, not always a product need, usually an emotional one. People don't buy productivity tools because they need to organize tasks. They buy them because chaos makes them feel out of control, and feeling out of control makes them feel like they're failing. The product is the surface, the emotion is the engine. Most businesses talk to the surface. They list features, explain processes, compare prices, and wonder why their audience feels transactional. The overly aware person, almost by instinct, talks to the engine. Because they have spent their entire life tracking the emotional undercurrent beneath every interaction, they know that what someone says and what someone means are often two different things. They know that the loudest complaint in a market is rarely the deepest one. This is the empathy to offer pipeline. And here's how it works in practice. You don't start with a product idea. You start with a person. Specifically, the version of yourself that existed before you figured something out. The version that was stuck, confused, searching. You know that person intimately because you were them. And because you were wired the way you are, you didn't just live through that experience. You processed it from every angle. You understood it at a depth most people never reach about their own struggles. That depth of understanding about a specific human experience is the foundation of a brand. Because here is the truth about what people are actually buying in the attention economy. They are buying the feeling of being understood. In a world of noise and generic advice, content that could have been written by anyone about anyone, The person who makes you feel specifically, accurately seen is the person you follow, the person you buy from, the person you tell others about. Who is most capable of making another person feel that seen? The person who has spent their entire life noticing what others miss. Your brand is not your logo or your niche or your content format. Your brand is the depth with which you understand people. And that depth is already built by every conversation you overanalyzed, every emotion you interrogated, every room you scanned. You didn't waste those years. You were in research. But there is a shadow side, and if you don't name it clearly, it will quietly dismantle everything you're building. The same empathy that makes you exceptional at understanding your audience will, if unmanaged, make you terrible at running a business. You feel the discomfort of charging what you're worth because you can sense the other person's resistance, and you absorb it as your own. So you discount. You negotiate against yourself before the client even pushes back. You overdeliver not because you plan to, but because you can feel the gap between what the client expected and what they actually need. And you cannot tolerate that gap existing. So you fill it with extra work, extra hours, extra access. Until the project that was supposed to be profitable is running at a loss. You avoid difficult conversations about scope or payment because you have already pre-lived the discomfort so vividly that it feels easier to absorb the cost yourself. This is not a character flaw. This is the survival architecture running in a context it was never designed for. The radar that once kept you emotionally safe is now in business, creating the very instability it was built to prevent. The shift required is this. You have to learn to observe the emotion in the room without being governed by it. Feel the client's resistance to your price and hold the price anyway. Not because you don't care, but because you understand the long-term cost of being governed by other people's momentary discomfort. The distinction between responding from strategy versus responding from survival is the entire inner game of building a business as a highly aware person. Master it, and you don't become less empathetic, you become more precise. Now let's get practical, because philosophy without structure is just a feeling. The one-person brand built on self-awareness follows a specific logic. It starts with depth over breadth. The instinct for most people starting a personal brand is to stay general, appeal to everyone, exclude no one. The overly aware person knows intuitively this is wrong, because they have felt the difference between content made for everyone and content made for them. Specificity is what creates the feeling of being seen. Go narrow. Pick the specific experience you understand most deeply. Speak to the specific person living inside that experience right now. Resist every pressure to dilute. Then it builds through honest articulation. Your greatest content asset is not information, it is precision. The ability to name something that other people have felt but could not find words for. When you read something and feel that jolt of recognition, yes, that is exactly it. I've never been able to say it that way. That is a highly aware person doing what they do naturally. They found the precise word for a blurry feeling. That is resonance. And resonance is the mechanism behind every loyal audience, every community that feels like a community instead of just a following. Finally, the brand sustains itself through consistency of perspective. Not posting schedule, but worldview. The overly aware person, because they have processed their experience so deeply, has a perspective that is genuinely their own, not borrowed, not assembled from other people's frameworks. In a world where most content is derivative, where people are remixing the same ideas in slightly different formats, a genuine, hard-won perspective is extraordinarily rare. That is your moat, not your niche, not your production quality, not your follower count. Your moat is the depth and originality of how you see the world, and no one can replicate it because it was built by the specific, unrepeatable experience of being you. The world is moving rapidly toward an economy where the one-person business is not just viable, it is, in many contexts, superior. Superior in agility, superior in authenticity, superior in the ability to build genuine trust that scaled, corporate, committee-approved content simply cannot. And the person most naturally equipped to win in that world is not the loudest one, not the most confident, or the most credentialed, or the most polished. It is the one who understands people, the one who feels the room, who can look at a market and sense what's missing before the data confirms it, who can write one sentence that makes a stranger feel less alone, who built, through years of paying close attention, an internal map of human experience so detailed it functions as a superpower the moment it's aimed in the right direction. That has always been you. The only thing missing was the permission to stop treating your awareness as something to minimize or apologize for, and to start treating it as the asset it has always been. The most dangerous competitor in any market is not the one who outspends you. It's the one who actually understands people. That's always been you. You just didn't know it was worth anything. Now you do. If this found you today, please subscribe. And if you want to support these explorations, the thumbs up button is right there. I genuinely appreciate every single one of you who showed up for this one. Let's chill and discover.